warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone. Thank you for coming to this presentation. It's great to see you all. We are from group 6. We'll present about our discussion. The topic is from sounds to words to structures. Let me introduce my group. My name is Esther Musakimah as the first speakers. Next, Feriska Erviana as the second speakers. And the last speaker is Dewi Rosalia Adiba. Well, as the first presenter, I will deliver my presentation as follows. The scope of pronunciation. Teachers need to consider carefully the fact that pronunciation is not just about individual sounds, which are only one aspect. The range of pronunciation features in the speaking of English at the primary level includes individual sounds and consonants cluster, syllables and stress, weakly stresses and strongly stressed syllables in word, how stress works in phrases and sentences, how stress is used to consonanting, how stress is used in sentences to change their meaning, how the in some words are joined up and linked together in phrases and sentences, how intonation is used to refer to old information, how intonation is used to refer to new information, and how intonation is used in questioning. Okay, the first is individual sounds. There will always be differences in pronunciation between the pupils learning first language and English. There may be some consonant sounds which are not present in the first language but which occur in English or vice versa. Or the two languages may have the same consonant but they occur in a different place in the word. Or there might be consonant groups or clusters which occur in English but not in the first language. Some differences can lead to problems and some may be more difficult to master than others. The pronunciation of vowels is more likely to cause problems. The teachers need to demonstrate the way in which the face looks when sounds are made. For example, how open or closed the mouth is, how rounded or spread out the lips are. Try wherever possible to demonstrate the word on its own first of all, but move quickly to putting it in sentences so that pronunciation practice is more meaningful. Children may find it difficult to tell the difference between two sounds if they cannot, first of all, hear that the sound of actually different sounds in connected speech. It is important that pronunciation teaching does not concentrate entirely on the pronunciation of individual sounds. Practicing how sounds blend together in informal speech is equally important. One of the pronunciation features present in English is linking where certain sounds are run on together to avoid a jerky staccato effect. Here we see how words ending in a consonant sound are not spelling link up with the next word if this begins with a vowel sound, example cut off or there is, and then stress and rhythm. Songs, rhythm and change are an excellent illustration of the way in which stress and rhythm work in English. Again, the children can be asked to clap the rhythm to help them pick out the main stress in each line. Words that tend to be stresses are important content, words that give the main part of a message. So there is intonation. Some of the most important functions of intonation in English are to help emphasize the most strongly stressed word in a sentence, to show the grammatical function of what is being said. For example, whether something is a statement or question, and to show feeling and emotion. Then I tell you about techniques and activities. Usually, pronunciation teaching forms an integral part of the presentation of new words and sentence patterns and subsequent practice activities. Exercise using minimal pairs have been very popular in the past. However, you will find that for young children, long stretches of the contextualist practice like this are boring, demotivating. Children should be able to hear the stress on these syllables and can visualize them if you use symbols such as large or small circles or squares to show the stress. Beware of only presenting new words on their own. For instance, you may find yourself saying, "I'm going to put it on the table." What this actually means is, "I'm putting it on the table instead of under it, in it, over it, and others." In other words, this is a good example of classrooms artificial language heard only in the foreign language classroom. Pronunciation goals. Pronunciation skills are developed over a long period of time. Although we have seen young learners may have some advantage in this area, we need to emphasize that children's pronunciation will only be as good as the models they hear, and their main model may only be the teacher. We must recognize that it is unrealistic to expect that most primary language teachers will speak with native speakers like pronunciation. In many course books, the correction of pronunciation errors is not overemphasized because of the availability of good speaking models on cassettes or CD-ROM that accompany the materials. Most course books provide plenty of opportunities to practice pronunciation without repetition, pair work, songs and dance, and pronunciation activities and games. Learning children vocabulary. First, how children learn the meaning of words. When teaching vocabulary in the foreign language, we need to bear in mind that children are still building up their first language vocabulary and are still in the process of acquiring and organizing concepts. Children are faced with three different but related vocabulary learning tasks, which Aitchison calls labeling, packaging, and network building. In the packaging task, children must find out which things can be packaged together under one label. Cameron points out that children learn basic level meanings before they superordinate or subordinate, and she gives the example of chair and top, which will be learned before furniture or rocking chair and animal or Dalmatian. Knowing a word. Vocabulary learning involves many different types of knowledge. It can be seen that the types of knowledge may not all be equally important for knowing a word. More attention is likely to be paid to how a word is pronounced, its meaning, and its use. And then vocabulary size, selection, and learnability. With regard to learnability, here are 7 factors adapted from White that are useful to take into account. First, demonstrability. Second, similarity to learn first language. Third, brevity. Fourth, regularity. 5, learning mode. 6, opportunism. And then 7, centers of interest. That's what I can say as the first speakers. Then will be continued by my friend Veriska Arviana. Veriska Arviana, times is yours.
The vocabulary teaching and learning process. Children will go through 5 main stages guided by the teacher and their efforts to learn new words and attach these to words they already know. Stage 1. Understanding and learning the meaning of new words. Some techniques to introduce new vocabulary and convey meaning are by demonstrating. And number 1 is using objects or things brought to the classroom. Because introducing a new word by showing the real object often helps pupils to memorize the word through visualization. And then number 2 is using drawing on the blackboard or on flashcard. The latter can be used again if they are made with card and covered in plastic. And number 3, using illustration, pictures, photos, flashcard found in the language learning materials you are using, or by making your own visual aids using picture from magazines and so on. And then using action, mime, expression and gesture like in adjective like sad, happy, and then verbs swimming, running and the others. And then pointing, touching, testing, feeling, smelling, whenever possible, getting pupils to use their sense to help memorize words and understand their meanings. And the last is using technology. Other techniques are verbal. Number 1, explaining, giving an analytical definition, like present is something you give to someone on a special occasion like a birthday, and then defining the context, like the winner of the swimming competition gets a medal. And then eliciting, once a context is established, you can elicit vocabulary items from pupils, like what does the winner of swimming competition or a marathon get? You may need to do this in the first language, and pupils may give the word in the first language, but it shows they are thinking in the appropriate semantic area. This technique is far more motivating and memorable than giving pupils a list of words to learn. And then describing, it's made of metal and looks like a coin. Using opposite, it's the opposite of black. This technique allows pupils to associate words with a concept they already understand in their first language, and often pupils will learn 2 words instead of 1. And then translating. If none of the above techniques work, then translate. This technique saves a lot of time. And then stage 2, tending to form. This can involve depending of the age and level of your pupils. All or some of the following. Number 1, listening and repeating. And then listening for specific phonological information like consonant and vowel sounds, and then stress pattern and the others. And then looking at or observing the written form like shape, first and last letters, clusters, spelling and the others. And then noticing grammatical information like an apple, a countable noun needs an article in this case, and because the word begins with a vowel. And then stage 3, vocabulary practicing, memorizing and checking activities. This involves children in activities requiring them to do things with words in order to make strong memory connection by learning words in group as shown below. Number 1, classifying or sorting. Pupils sort words into categories, for example, hot and cold things, sweet or salty foods and the others, and then giving instruction. The teacher gives an instruction focusing on specific vocabulary, for example, show me a red square, go to the door, and then show me a table, and the others. And then number 3 is picture dictation. Pupils draw what you say. It can be simply draw a circle, draw a green square, and the others. And then what's missing? Ask pupils to look at the pictures carefully, then tell them to close their eyes. Remove an item from the board. Pupils open their eyes and tell you what I'm missing. And then game scan. Play the same way as above, but objects are used and displayed on a tray or a table. And then what searches. Children enjoy searching for English spelling patterns, and if the words are all of one category, it can reinforce categorization skill. And then squashing. Jumble up pictures on the board. The teacher or a pupil gives instruction like put the chocolate cake first and so on. And then labeling. Pupils label a picture in order to practice different nouns from lexical sets. And then stage 4, consolidating, recycling, extending, organizing, recording, and personalizing vocabulary. Some techniques that you can propose which will allow pupils to build up their own personalized vocabulary systems. Number 1. Vocabulary books. Encourage pupils to create their own vocabulary books. Discuss ways of organizing these, for example, alphabetically, words plus a picture and drawing. And then college. Pupils college picture around a particular theme and stick this onto a large sheet of paper, which can be used to decorate the classroom and can be added to on an ongoing basis. And then word network, webs and trees. Encourage pupils to build up their own word networks, taking as their starting point a topic, for example, transport, and then writing down words they associate with this. And then kinds or steps decrease of temperature, like hot, one, cold, freezing, size of animals from big to small, and the other. And then word stars. Pupils arrange words which rhyme on a star diagram, which will help them recognize letter sound relation. Attractive dictionaries available for children. The Oxford Elementary Learners Dictionary of English is useful to introduce children to a monolingual dictionary. Word boxes, banks, envelopes, bags. Pupils can make their own set of vocabulary cards and store them in boxes, envelopes, or bags in groups, such as those suggested above. And then mobiles. Combine a craft activity with a vocabulary learning activity, making it a very tactile and visually rewarding experience. Mobiles are ideal for helping children group words in lexical sets. And then stage 5, developing strategies for vocabulary learning. Number 1, linguistic knowledge, grammatical clues, prior knowledge of the language, links and similarities to first language. And then textual clues, punctuation, use of capitals and speech marks. And then extra linguistic or word knowledge, visual clues, illustration, mime, gesture, expression. And then audio clues, sound effects. And then word and sentence stress, pace, volume, and the other. And then word knowledge, prior knowledge of the situation, the topic, and the culture. Okay, I think enough from me. The next material will be developed by Ocha. Thank you.
We'll continue the materials about learning English grammar. Learning English grammar. Approach to the teaching of grammar have over the last 50 years almost gone, run in a full cycle from grammar translation methods to the communicative approach and a return to approach which focus on form. What grammar to teach? Lewis breaks down grammar into three accessible and manageable categories. First, facts. These are non-generative and cannot be applied generally. For example, the plural of food is feet, not foods. Second, patterns. These categories can be dealt with faithfully in the classroom by helping children look for patterns. For example, my favorite color is blue or my favorite dessert is ice cream. Third, categories. The use of certain grammatical structure is a matter of personal choice. For example, I've played tennis since I was 8 or I've been playing tennis since I was 8. Teaching grammar. Sequencing grammar learning activities based on proposed three useful stages. Noticing new language input which involve focusing the pupil's attention on the language forms so they notice and become aware of the structure and meaning. Structuring knowledge of the language system which involves pupils in manipulating forms and meaning in controlled practice. Proceduralizing, involving learners in fluent language use and communication where they formulate their own meanings in contexts over which they have considerable control. Discovery grammar activities. A discovery grammar activity turns grammar into a problem-solving activity where pupils consolidate knowledge of a structure that has been introduced or establish the structure for themselves without an explanation from the teacher. Classroom-related language. Natural, spontaneous occasions that arise through classroom talk which provide ideal opportunities for children to notice patterns. Developing strategies for grammar learning. 1. About me books or language files. 2. Self or peer testing. 3. Pupils can mark changes in form with colored pens. 4. Pupils can look for patterns and create their own. 5. Pupils can compare grammar structure in English and in their language. And 6. Encourage pupils to learn from their mistake by keeping a list of their errors and writing out a self-corrected version for each one. Okay, that's all our material about from sounds to word to structure. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.